Hey, this is Mr. Aiden. This is going to be Cellular Respiration Introduction, an introduction to cellular respiration. This is for my 8th grade science class, but this could be for any kind of science class, even a high school biology class. This is a great introduction for what we call cellular respiration. And so, how do organisms get energy? Well, we've been already discussing that within photosynthesis. Remember, plant cells ended up taking photosynthesis and ended up using that light and the carbon dioxide in the water to make high energy molecules called glucose. And they were able to use their own energy that they make. Now, we get our energy from those molecules that were made in photosynthesis. And so, but we do it as well as plant cells, animal cells, other eukaryote cells get energy through chemical reactions which are called cellular respiration, and these chemical reactions make ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that high potential energy molecule of ATP. And this is called an aerobic process. Now, this is a word that I want you to make sure you understand and you get, is that this aerobic process means you need oxygen gas, you need O2 in order to have this reaction take place, and it takes place in what's called the mitochondria. So, as we remember, we had photosynthesis occurring, right? And where was photosynthesis occurring? That was occurring in the chloroplast, wasn't it? And what was our reactants of photosynthesis? Well, we had water coming in, H2O, and we had carbon dioxide coming in, and we had energy. And what was that energy going into doing? Was breaking the water molecule, those bonds, those O to H bonds, and making O2 gas. And then in stage 2, remember, carbon dioxide was coming in from that energy from stage 1, and we were making glucose, or C6H12O6. And remember how we balanced this? We needed 6 water molecules, 6 moles of carbon dioxide, we made 6 moles of O2, and we made 1 mole of the C6H12O6. Well, the amazing thing is this: cellular respiration is not occurring in the chloroplast because we don't have chloroplast. It's occurring in the mitochondria in the animal cell. And what happens here is this: is we take in the glucose, the C6H12O6, and we're breathing in oxygen gas. And what are we making is we're making water, we're making carbon dioxide, and we're making all the energy for all the function of all the cells. Well, how would you balance this? Well, for every 1 mole of the C6H12O6, you need 6 oxygen gases, 6 waters, and 6 carbon dioxides, and we're going to make a slew of energy. Now take a look at these reactions. Photosynthesis, water and carbon dioxide and energy are reactants. Cellular respiration, water, carbon dioxide, and energy are products. Photosynthesis, glucose and oxygen gas are products. Look at cellular respiration. Glucose and oxygen gas are reactants, which means these reactions are totally the flip-flop opposite of each other, aren't they? Happening in different places, both very, very complex, kind of takes Darwinian evolution and is kind of destroying it just right here in these specific and functional chemical reactions that are not easy at all. And so what's happening is our cells are using oxygen to produce energy from food, and we call this cellular respiration. And so we're going to take a look at our 30,000-foot view of cellular respiration. But before we begin, the interesting thing is this: the cell cannot get energy from glucose initially. Glucose is a very complex molecule, and it just can't do anything right. So what does glucose have to do? What needs to be done? Glucose needs to be broken down before it can be used in the mitochondria, and we call that pre-stage 1. And pre-stage 1 has a name. It's called glycolysis. Glycolysis is where that glucose is being broken down. It's being broken down. That term glycolysis, if you break it up into its meaning, glucose means sweet. So I am one glucose man. I am sweet. And lysis means to split. It's splitting that sweet molecule down, and it's breaking it down. And so this takes place in the cell cytoplasm. It does not take place in the mitochondria yet. It takes place in the cytoplasm, and it does not need oxygen gas, so we call that an anaerobic process. Again, I want you to see that term. Anaerobic means no O2 gas. We don't need oxygen gas for glycolysis to work. We do not need oxygen gas for glycolysis to work. And so what's happening here in glycolysis is we have our glucose molecule, our C6, H12O6, and that 6-carbon molecule is breaking down. And what's coming in is 2 molecules of ADP, adenosine diphosphate. It's making 2 molecules of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So it's making a little bit of energy, believe it or not. It's making a little bit of energy. This energy is not enough to sustain the body, though. Okay, so this energy, it's making a little bit of energy, 2 molecules of ATP. And guess what? It's taking this glucose and it's breaking this bond and it's breaking it down into 2 3-carbon molecules that'll be able to be used in cellular respiration. So it's breaking up this glucose. It does not need oxygen gas, and it's breaking it up into 2 3-carbon molecules. Now, what's happening is then we go into stage 1 of cellular respiration. And stage 1 comes into what's called the Krebs cycle. Okay? Now, I want you to think back to photosynthesis. Remember, stage 2 of photosynthesis was our cycle. But here in stage 1 of cellular respiration, exactly the opposite, is a different cycle, which is called the Krebs cycle. And this is taking place in the matrix. And the matrix of the mitochondria, and it is anaerobic. What does anaerobic mean? No aerobic. No oxygen gas. We do not need oxygen gas for stage 1. And so what's happening here is in the matrix, in the Krebs cycle, these 2 moles of the 3-carbon molecules from glycolysis are being broken down even further. And what do we make? We make some ATP, only 2 molecules of ATP, again, not enough in order to survive, as well as 6 moles of carbon dioxide given off as a waste product. So in stage 1, that is when you breathe out carbon dioxide. That's happening. That's the product of stage 1, the carbon dioxide. And we have a little bit of energy that's transferred to stage 2. Very similar to photosynthesis, isn't it? Okay. Then we go into stage 2 of cellular respiration, and this is called the electron transport. Now, think about it. Go back to your photosynthesis. Stage 1 of photosynthesis was the electron transport, going into the cycle. Well, in cellular respiration, stage 1 is the cycle, and stage 2 is the electron transport. And this takes place in and across the inner mitochondrial membrane, and this is aerobic. What does aerobic means is we need O2. We need oxygen gas. And so what happens here is energy is transferred into a chain of proteins. 6 moles of oxygen gas are coming in. Okay, that's why you're breathing in oxygen gas. That oxygen gas is being used in stage 2. And 6 moles of water are formed. So that's where we form water. And a large number of molecules of ATP, about 34, 36 molecules of ATP, which means stage 2 is where we are getting all of our energy from. All of our energy. And so what do we have happen here is we have in our overview of cellular respiration, we have right here on the left hand side, we have our pre-stage 1, which means we have glucose that's coming in. Right? We're going to be using the C6H12O6. And that is reacting in what we call glycolysis. Now, what do we know about glycolysis? That's happening in the cytoplasm, and it is anaerobic, which means we do not need oxygen gas for glycolysis. And what is glycolysis making? Well, first it makes a little bit of energy that goes to stage 2. It makes a little bit of those 2 3-carbon molecules which go to stage 1. And it makes a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of ATP, tiny bit of energy, not enough to live on. So then these 2 3-carbon molecules come into stage 2, which we call the Krebs cycle, don't we? The Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is in the matrix, and it is anaerobic. We do not need oxygen gas for that. And what's happening to these 2 3-carbon molecules? Well, we are giving off some carbon dioxide. We're giving off 2 ATP, and we're giving off a little bit of energy to stage 2. And then we come into stage 2. Stage 2 is called the electron transport. And what do we need? Well, where is the electron transport happening? It's happening in the mitochondrial membrane. It is aerobic, which means we need O2 coming in. And you can see O2 is a reactant here in stage 2. What do we get coming off is water and 34 molecules of ATP. And that is the overview of cellular respiration. Hope this helped. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you guys. Bye.